In the latest update for Overwatch, we have finally gotten the long-awaited story tab, the lore tab as you will, for this game. Now, I do want to review and talk about it. There's a lot to be said about it. It is, for lack of better words, it's very bare bones, and I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So I'm not gonna waste your time and get straight into it. But before I do that, shout outs to 𝐓𝐿𝐿 over here. 𝐓𝐿𝐿 is a great Overwatch lore channel. He does a great job in digging into a lot of the different aspects of the Overwatch lore, characters that you've probably never heard of. Shout outs to 𝐒𝐿𝐻, by the way. So if you would like to check out a channel that's dedicated to making Overwatch content about its lore primarily, do check 𝐒𝐿𝐻 out. And I myself will also be doing a lot of lore topics on this channel very soon once I get a little bit more time away from work. So okay, that aside, let's get started with the lore tab. So the lore tab is down here. You click on the story button and we end up at this page over here. Now it actually begins back here where we go to the story so far and we go straight into the motion comic for Freya, and then we jump on over to wu-yang's content that they made, and then we come on over to reconciliation and breaking news. Now I can't lie, upon first glance, I like the layout, I like the visuals, but it feels very underwhelming. Like, I have to be a little bit real here. I do like it, but I feel like now that we are in this era of Overwatch and there is a lot of existing media for Overwatch, I think the lore tab, the story tab or media tab, whatever you want to call it, I feel like we can expand it a little bit more. And I think the number one thing that I'd like to see, first of all, is an expansion. I think this is more of a timeline of events. Because, like, okay guys, this is the story so far, let us catch you up, and this is that YouTube video that they posted. The motion comic is also pretty much the YouTube video that they posted with the voiceover. And then there's the hero trailer, and then, like, similarly the pattern continues with the lore drop over here. And I'm sure this one is probably Lupa's hero trailer and then Lupa's motion comic, so those two are probably for her. That's the new character that's coming very soon, right? So all that considered, from a timeline perspective, this is very interesting, but I feel like there's still a lot of core narrative that's missing, right? This begins in the wake of the null sector invasion, right, where Overwatch is already reestablished. But what I don't like is I think allowing people to have a timeline before this, like the all the animated shorts that were done, also like the comics that are on the Play Overwatch website, all present in one certain spot before this area on the timeline would be nice to see. I also would like some additional tabs on the side over here where we can, like, you know, sort them by timeline, chronological order, etc. Like I said, as a early blueprint, this is nice, but it just kind of feels like we're looking at the alpha version of the lore tab. Now, if this is it, and in a season or two from now, if this isn't exactly expanded and we just get like 2 to 2 you know, hero trailer, hero story, hero trailer, hero story, from now on, I can't lie that of course I'm going to be a little bit upset about it, because there's a lot of lore that people are missing out on. One of the problems with Overwatch as well is that the presentation of the lore is a little bit of a mess, from the perspective that people don't exactly know where to find it. If I ask somebody, hey, did you read the new Hanzo short story or the Zenyatta short story, I believe it was called Ascended, the one with Symmetra being a part of it as well, you know, or any of these questions, or like the latest one with Juno, they don't exactly know where to find it, right? They don't exactly know where to look for it, and it's not like the game makes a visual effort to try and tell you where you can go to find these things. Even if there was a button over here that expands this lore tab, takes you to a different page with like individualized hero names and their stories, or events that took place in that character story onto a separate page, I think that would be really, really good for discoverability and accessibility. Number two, I think what would also be really good from now on is also going forward. I think if they are going to be using this as a timeline of events, I would like to see this actually be relevant to the main characters of Overwatch, because this game is called Overwatch. The story is about Overwatch. I would like to see the focus now be mostly on Overwatch. I cannot lie. I understand why Wu Yang is here at the moment, but let's be real, the Wu Yang motion comic and the Wu Yang hero trailer has absolutely nothing to do with Overwatch, other than the fact that he got recruited for Overwatch with his sister Anran. So but like reconciliation and lore drop actually have a relevance, because these are kind of up-to-date events that happen. So and then Freya's events are also relevant to the overall story and narrative because she was a part of the original Overwatch team, and there's a lot of implications going on there. I think Freya is the best part of the story for this game in a very long time, because again, it's expanding the other side that we never got to see, that I really hope they do address with the Freya Embrace story that they are building up into. On the side, what I would like to see is, again, I want the focus on the main characters. If I head on over to the hero gallery, guys, I understand we all have our favorites, but you're gonna have to understand side characters have to be side characters. We can't individually give everyone a story. Now, can we do side stories and spin-offs where a bunch of the other cast members that don't really have a big impact on the main narrative have their own short stories to tell that take place on the side and they react to current events with the main characters? Sure, I'd love to see that. If anybody's familiar with Digimon's story, Cyber Sleuth and then Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory, they're two separate games, but they take place side by side with the quote-unquote side cast reacting to the events of the main characters and adjusting to it in that game on the side, right? So what I would like to see going forward is, like I said, I want to see an emphasis put on the main Overwatch members. Like the Overwatch members in their universe, they're kind of like, the X-Men / the Avengers, right? So I want to see a focus on characters like Mercy, like Tracer, like Sojourn, because she's like the current day leader, right? Cassidy is also one of those figures. I want to see a focus on Genji. I want to see a focus a little bit more on characters like Reinhardt, like Brigitte, like different character arcs for these characters going forward. Just so not only are we already attached to these characters as of now, I'd like to see their lore being expanded. Then on the other side, we have the Freya, Maximilian, and Emre story that's building up. I'd like to see a little bit more emphasis and a lot more marketing for it. I think it was absolutely criminal that during Freya's season, not only was Freya as a character just very poorly marketed, we're not discussing balance here, but this is just the marketing perspective, but also like when she was just kind of like, let's just get this character over with and move on to the next thing. That's what her hero release felt like, and I remember also seeing a lot of posts on Twitter where everybody just kind of said doesn't it kind of feel like Freya is the character that got the least amount of marketing, as if it's like, okay, let's just put this in and move on to the next thing. But I digress, right? So like I said, I want to see a focus on Overwatch, and then obviously the next set of villains, which at this point I think we're all aware of what's about to happen with the story to some degree. We have put a pause / like a pause or like a postponed the Null Sector storyline for the moment, because Ramatra at the moment fears Lupa's arrival, and it's going to be Talon and Overwatch's problem to deal with. So big focus on Overwatch, big focus on Talon, but I don't want to see because again, we get these like in limited times and limited spaces, and we only have so many writers and people working on it, although hopefully if it's a success we can see the team expand. But I do want to see the main characters getting the focus. I know it's going to make people upset that characters like, let's say like Roadhog or Junkrat or Sigma, characters like Lifeweaver or Iliari might be put a little bit on the back burner. But guys, we have to tell the story of Overwatch at some point. We have to look at what is Overwatch doing today. Now, can these characters cross overs, have cameos, etc., etc.? Yes, absolutely, for sure. And is it possible that while we're telling the Overwatch story, can we also tell the story of the quote-unquote side characters on the side? Like, oh, by the way, like while Overwatch and Talon is dealing with this, the little group of Ana, Soldier, Iliari, they're actually kind of dealing, let's just say for hypothetically speaking, they're dealing with the Freaks. And during their encounter with the Freaks, somehow at an Oasis facility, Moira was there, and now you have a little narrative of that going on the side. So you have the main narrative and then a side narrative, and then they can kind of butt heads at one point, or kind of nod at each other's existence. That's something I'd like to see for the lore going forward, is because like at the moment I feel like the direction is very skewed every other season, where one moment we are focusing on, oh my god guys, the big narrative, this is what happened with Ramatra, but by the way, like Juno on the side though, and it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, we need to keep a bit of a focused mindset with the lore going forward. It's one of the things that I've liked about how League of Legends did their lore previously. When we were focusing on Ruination and that storytelling, we focused and doubled down on those sets of characters and the story that they could tell, whether it was the heroes or the villains. Unfortunately, the villains were won in that storyline, and then that's a story to tell another day. And then over on Marvel Rivals' side, the way they do it is that per season they decide on, okay, these little groups of characters will be the focus of the narrative. This is the season villain for the moment, and we're gonna tell their story for the next like month and a half or 2 months, right? So these are the two games that I'm a little bit more aware about because I do enjoy both their lore, and I'm hoping that Overwatch can go in that direction as well. Take bits and pieces of inspiration from the world around you. There's no need to feel ashamed that if we copy a little bit of how Rivals does something, there's no need to feel ashamed if we copy how League might be doing something, right? And like I said, it doesn't just have to be that, but like again, the overall marketing of Overwatch needs an upgrade, and the focus and the vision and the direction of Overwatch needs an upgrade, but I really don't want to see them fail the lore, because at the end of the day, I love this game, I adore this game, and the lore is one of the things that I think all of us can fundamentally agree that the blueprint and the foundation of it is absolutely wonderful, but there's only so much time that we can waste for the past 10 years looking at the blueprint and the foundation and wonder, what does Overwatch do next? Well, if we want to learn what Overwatch does next, we unironically have to focus on Overwatch. So, like I said, unfortunately, characters like Symmetra, Lifeweaver, Hanzo, not everybody can join Overwatch, not everybody can join Talon. We can tell separate stories with them another time. Granted that we've actually been telling separate stories for the past year or so. So now I would like to see a focus on the main cast. I'd like to know what's going on with 𝐒𝐒𝐈 in her perspective. I'd like to know Genji's thoughts on what happened with Zen and Ramatra, right? Like, especially since that's his master. I'd like to know, like, different perspectives on, what does Reinhardt think about 𝐒𝐈𝐶 taking a back seat? Or what is Sojourn's perspective on well, 𝐒𝐈𝐶 is kind of backing off. I'm having some anxiety about it. I want to see the heroes bond. I want to see the heroes like bridge that gap, because the way Overwatch was sold to us was like there was always a little bit of internal conflict, whether it was with Soldier or Reaper, and then there was like if it starts at the top, it spreads out at the bottom, right? So Soldier and Reaper were like the original leaders. So if we're trying to move away from, hey, the people in the past, they led us the wrong path, well, I want to see the leaders of today and tomorrow. Let's assume it's Sojourn and Cassidy, and sometimes the roles of the leaders can be divided per mission or whatever. I'd like to see those heroes speak from a place of experience. I think Sojourn has a lot of potential for this. She's a very dear character to me, to my heart. She's absolutely wonderful. I love her character, but I can always understand other people's perspective of why they think Sojourn kind of comes off boring. So I would like to see Sojourn kind of developed in a way where, even if the criticism is rightful or not, we need to find a way to sway people to growing onto liking some of these characters that are on our front page, right? So Overwatch, the main cast, they're already a bundle of joy, but we can start to expand them a little bit more. So I would like to see that going forward for Overwatch. Also, I don't think they can exactly do this at the moment, but like I said, I don't want to see too much focus on the new young cast. I think we have barely explored the potential with the existing cast, right? Again, if I compare it to Marvel, you could only tell a story about the young Avengers after you've explored enough avenues with the original Avengers, right? Right now, we have the quote-unquote new and upcoming Overwatch teams in Wu Yang, Kiriko, Juno, right, etc., etc. Maybe at some point Venture joins Overwatch, or Iliari joins Overwatch or something. We don't know, but I've kind of laid out my groundwork on what I'd like to see from the lore going forward. I'd like to see them, again, one last thing. This is the really important one. I'd like to see them double down on villains being villains. I think one of the bigger problems with the Overwatch community as well is that they kind of babyfy and infantize. I'm not sure if that's a word or not. They kind of try to remove all the villainous traits from their villains, and they just try to treat them like, oh well, no, this character can't be wrong. No, guys, like Ramatra is a terrorist. He is a bad guy. Doomfist is a bad guy, right? Hazard is a little bit of a, well, he's in theory a good guy, but he might make a decision one day that could be a bad guy, right? Junker Queen, well, she's not exactly the nicest person, let's say, for a lack of better terms, towards 𝐒𝐈𝐹, right? So I'd rather them double down on these characteristics and actually make unique and interesting characters than be scared that, well, Twitter user will be upset if Junker Queen actually doubles down on her hatred for 𝐒𝐈𝐹, or we lean into the fact that Ramatra actually is a very, very mean character who does horrible things not only to 𝐒𝐈𝐹 kind, but also I'd like to see him do something horrible to a human, right? I'd like to see them take some risks in the near future where I want to see civilians get hurt. I want to see Overwatch feel like they're failing the world and realize they can't save everybody, right? Or why they need to expand their team. They're going to have to fail some missions, but so far they've kind of bit a bit of bums in the lore, right? We need to see Overwatch get hiked up. So I want to take Overwatch seriously, but they must deliver with this big comeback. Because again, the story right now is that Overwatch is making a comeback, but in order for the comeback to be successful, you need to sell why your heroes are a success. Anyways, everybody, that's going to be it from me on this video. You can support me for free by liking and commenting your thoughts on the lore, and you can support this channel even further by checking out my Patreon link in the channel description box below. Once again, liking and subscribing and commenting are free ways to support the channel. I appreciate it, and to the people that are already supporting on the Patreon, shout out to you over here. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.